10 bad bitches in a mash. Rich on Millie rock, them diamonds on me dancing. When you working hard, then your money start expanding. I got model bitches wanna lick me like some candy. And them drugs come in handy. Last name Savage, bitch, but no, I'm not Randy. Hit her with no condom, had to make her eat a Plan B. And I'm sipping on that codeine, not brandy. I'm just stunting on my ex, bitch. I'm just flexing on my ex, bitch. Hold up, I'm just stunting on my ex, bitch. 10 bad bitches in a mash. Rich on Millie rock, them diamonds on me dancing. When you working.
Hey, a little technical difficulties. That's how it is in this modern world of the internet and streaming and that whole situation. Like I say, we're in the beta testing format right now of our show. I guess the question we're running with right now is what teacher or educator or instructor inspired you to take on something, whether it be, math, physics, acting, art, music, drama, cooking, whatever. What teacher grabbed a hold of you and pushed that, pushed you to, that inspired you? Do you have one?
I do. I have one here. I'm going to try to multitask as much as possible so I can see if our stream is up. However, I went to the Baltimore School for the Arts for high school. Sorry. Multitasking. Multitasking. Okay, I went to the Baltimore School for the Arts for high school. I was really into science, except chemistry. Chemistry was mostly math, and I really wasn't a math dude. But I liked physics. That was the only science class that we took: physics and chemistry. However, the teacher that changed the entire trajectory of my life was an English teacher. Now, Baltimore School for the Arts, the unspoken thing was the majority of the students there were the testing, like that's how their test scores and how they operated in the class was very high, the majority of the students. So a lot of classes were advanced placement.
Mm-hmm.
There really was no remedial classes there, because they just never had a student population that needed it. However, I was one of those students that needed a remedial math class. So as a result, I ended up having to go to summer school for three years. However, when I was a junior, we had an English teacher named Mr. V, and he taught us a bunch of different concepts, a bunch of different philosophies. And one semester we were talking about existentialism. And we read The Stranger, and we had to read a bunch of essays and articles about that. That changed my life because it wasn't simply a teacher who's trying to teach us English so we can take that that statewide assessment test at the end of the year. It was literally like he was trying to create critical thinkers.
Dig it.
Now, I had an issue. I didn't score high. Like, I didn't get an A+ in this class like I did in my physics, because I had an issue writing essays at the time, right? I couldn't tie things together. So it would be like he would always say, you have, so if it was a 5-page essay, he said you had a different essay on each page. It just wasn't tying together. But the philosophy of existentialism really changed me, because he really got into the nitty gritty of it, right? Almost like what was that show that we were watching where the college professor got canceled, where he was teaching absurdism versus fashion?
It was The Chair.
The Chair. So he was kind of one of those teachers, right? Like he's right on the hairy edge of what is allowed to be taught in the schools. but it changed me because to this day I still follow a lot of existential teaching, just as far as letting things go and just being in the moment and such. But he really took the time to understand who we are as students in his class, understand how we were grasping the concepts, and if he saw that we weren't grasping the concepts, he would like kind of like extend the class or change the lesson plan up rapidly for that particular student or students that wasn't taken away from the education from the whole class. So even me later in life becoming a teacher myself, it was a lot of those techniques that I did use. But he was very, very methodical on how he taught us, and every student felt a personal relationship with him. It wasn't just a man coming in getting a paycheck standing at the board. It was, I really want to understand who you adolescents are as humans, understanding who I am as a teacher, and then working together. And he never had, I mean, I went to Baltimore School for the Arts, so we never had any fights or a lot of disruption, but kids will be kids, right? Everybody who went to him gave him the utmost respect. It was never a time where he had to gather up the class and say, quiet down and such. Every moment was just we were all yearning to learn, because he made not learning fun, but he made it interesting. He really tapped into our brains and made learning what is it? He made everybody be inquisitive. Don't just accept it. Question it. Go deeper. And if there were things that he was wrong about, a lot of people didn't have cell phones a lot back in that time, but there was cell phones there. So that one rich kid who had it, who would try to be a smart ass and Google it. If there were concepts that was wrong, or there were other a plethora of other opinions there, it wasn't that he's booting you off. We're having a whole conversation about it. He's including it in his lesson plan for the next day. So he was very
open sharing, a give and take between you and the actual instructor.
Yeah.
Not just a one way. I'm shooting it at you. You take it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
For me, okay, I came from a family of teachers. So I'm going to say the first person that inspired me would be my grandmother. She was a social studies teacher. And I guess in elementary school, middle school, that would be, I guess, a history teacher or a current events or civics class or whatever. So, when it came to like, as a young child, when it came to like reading like bedtime stories, she would read me like history, like World War II history, the storm of the Iwo Jima, as a kid. In elementary school, outside of my grandmother's influence, it would be probably Miss Brown at Mount Royal. She was an English teacher, but she was really, I guess, super liberal, and she was really trying to reach people. And she found somebody she could reach. She dialed in on that. And, I think that was the beginning of, I guess, the end of education, because that's when you started separating people. You had, 4 types of, groups of chairs in the classroom.
Right.
I guess it's advanced, intermediate, and you just, that was going on. And then in middle school, I had a, and I don't know if anybody in my middle school fall staff, I had a guy named Mr. Starmer. And Mr. Starmer was an interesting character. Everybody hated this dude.
Why is that?
I don't know if it was a black power piece. I don't know if it was a racism thing, but everybody hated this dude.
Was he a white guy?
He's a white guy.
Okay.
And he was like, I don't know what he was going through, but he was just this dude. And, he used to say he lived in the school. And, because we had the portable. His portable was this. And he was always there super early in the morning. And my grandmother actually taught at that school. So I would actually go to school with her in the morning. He was always there, and I would be literally be in school at like 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning.
Damn.
It's like sitting in the cafeteria reading a book or whatever. Ready, because my grandmother was there, because she was the social studies, I guess, chairperson or the head of the social studies department, and he was one of their people. So coming to my 8th grade year, and we coming up on the end of the year at 8th grade, he like pulls me up and it's like, hey, Chris, you seem to be really be in history. In the subject 8th grade year was American history.
Huh.
He's like, you really seem to be in history. He says, would you want to teach the American Civil War to the class? And he had asked us of, he had 8 classes, and he asked us of people in the 8 other classes.
Right.
And I was like, sure. And I was like, I don't know how well I'm going to do, because, I'm in 8th grade, I'm 13. It was like, that's crazy. But I was like, okay. But it just so happened time ran out on a year. Before we got to the Civil War, school year ran out, and it never happened. Wow. Now, I'm trying to figure out, in retrospect, I'm trying to see if that was him not wanting to teach the slavery piece or talk about the slavery piece.
Sure.
And because there was rumors that he got beat up and his hands were broken, kids, he had said something to somebody 3 years earlier before we were there. Nobody actually has a record of it, but he got beat up and his hands were broken. His hands were a little weird, maybe he was, I don't know. But I was, in retrospect, I'm like, did he not want to teach the Civil War because of the slavery piece and, the black thing? Right. So, whatever. But he actually inspired me with the history thing. I had already been inspired. And then going into high school, it were 2 teachers. They were Mr. Freund and Mr. Cavey.
Okay.
And, through the Facebook thing, I've sort of kept in contact with the 2 of them. And, because of my particular politics, Mr. Cavey hates my guts now. And Mr. Freund is like, we still communicate. We still discuss history.
Right.
And it's just concepts, history. And it's just like, I find, history is my love, my passion. I find through history that you can almost predict the future if you know your history. If you know history, you can sort of see it, what's going to happen, because it just repeats itself over and over again. But those are the people that sort of inspired me. And then as far as history, there was a guy named Stegmeyer at Frostburg.
Okay.
And he was, he tried to, I was a freshman, and I took a senior level military history class. And it was really for ROTC. And I wasn't in ROTC, but I was really punching out of school. I was having problems, but I knew this class.
Sure.
And it was American military history, like 1914 to the present. And he like pulled me up when I signed. He's like, dude, you're a freshman. This is like ROTC senior class. What are you doing? And I was like, I got it. And then we getting an A in the class, my only A in college.
Wow.
And he was like, yo, you know your thing. You need to. And of course, I had partied my way out of school. And that's a whole nother issue. But
hey, fuck it.
Fuck it. Yeah,
what was your nickname back in high school?
Spud McKenzie.
It traveled. It kept going.
Yeah, I was. I went into college a little too socially advanced, shall I say. That's an interesting thing. When you go into college, where were you socially? Were you dating? Were you a virgin going into college?
Sure.
Were you driving going into college? Had you been drinking? Had you, smoked a joint going into college? Who were you going into college, and how advanced socially were you going into college? Because, I went to college on I was way too advanced socially. Yeah. I came in as a freshman, and I slid straight into the upperclassmen party scene because I was on the football team.
Okay. So
I slid in with the athletes.
What position did you play?
I played defensive end in high school, and then we played tight end in college, which is, I hated it. Wow. But, I was like, and I was in college. By the time everybody showed up for school, I had been there for 3 or 4 weeks in summer ball.
Sure.
And I'm already dialed in with the athletes. And then I had a homeboy that was a year or two older than me. I had Frostburg, and I dialed in with him. So I didn't go into the freshman stuff. I just jumped right into the senior level party scene. And, I was rolling. My shit got kooky, Sean said.
Kooky.
It got deep.
Interesting. Very interesting.
It was very interesting. But the education thing is, I've always, wanted to dial into. It takes a special person to be a teacher,
Yeah.
and it's got to be a want. It's got to be a love. It's got to be a desire. You can't do it because you don't have any other choices as a job. I can see it doing it as a substitute, but you gotta, want to be involved. It's like, at the end of the day, nobody's gonna know you did it. Nobody's gonna know you cared. Nobody's gonna know you did what you did. You're just doing it to push the machine and the ball forward.
Thank you for everybody who is tuning in now. We have a comment from J.W. Carroll.
Oh, really?
He says, I was advanced. What is XAR?
XAR.
That's what he said. I was advanced XAR, JOD. I was advanced XAR, JOD, women and drinks.
I don't know. You might have to elaborate on that. I am
Elaborate on that a little bit.
3 or 4 drinks in, and my mindset. You catching me off foot there.
Yeah. So when you get a chance, J.W. Carroll, thank you for tuning in. Elaborate on what you mean. XAR. Oh. He said, okay. It was a typo. He said I was advanced. He had a car, women, and drinks.
True. So did
and a job.
So did I. I went. I went to college with a car, and I ran into some fake ID cats in school, and it was just on. I mean, there was like dime draft night at Frostburg.
Wow.
So you get a whole beer for 10 cents.
Wow.
And then there was just the pub right off campus where for 25 cents you can get a quarter beer. So, I mean, I literally was getting, you know how that ended out. It just was. I see Monique's Beautiful Life Over 50. I see eyeballs. I guess we didn't come on fast enough. It says love it later on. I guess she caught up with it.
Perfect.
So I guess we only got 4 people watching us.
That's fine.
It's okay.
Thank you for people. Do y'all want anything from the gas station?
It's that kind of scene. It's that kind of scene. But I don't know. I just look at when I went to school, there was you didn't want to get in trouble. There was always the bad boys. There was always, somebody that was on the edge. But it wasn't, they were a rarity. They were a not a commonplace. But it seems like now the people on the edge are that's the norm. And I'm trying to figure out what has happened with the school system where is it society has gotten bigger and we've just gotten so big that we've moved past almost the human interaction where your teacher went to your church maybe and lived in your neighborhood as your parent, so she could dial you in if you were acting goofy and doing something silly. She could dial you in because she knew your parents and it was a relationship. Or is it politics and policies that have pushed it to a point where children have too many rights now? Or is it governmental influences that have totally skewed and or could it be that once we got rid of religion in school, 50 years later, here we are. And could the religion thing been, even though it wasn't heavy-handed religion, But I'm thinking that the religion, as I remember, now maybe I was going to some weirdo schools, you know. I remember like the Sunday school classes and what we were learning in school sort of, not necessarily, and I was the Baltimore City Public Schools up to the end of the 8th grade, was sort of being in sync. So by the time you get around spring and get around Easter, you know, you're talking about in class, you're talking about life and zygotes and, you know, all of this stuff and how the trees are living, the chlorophyll and all that stuff, and you know, and at Christmas time you talk. It's just it seemed like to me that it was the religion of school was sort of sinking you into what you learned on Sunday, and it was sort of, you know, keeping in the religion being just a prayer, but it's just keeping you dialed in on that thing, and I see like it feels like things have become so derailed and we're so far away from where we should be as a society. I mean, we're the greatest nation on earth and nobody can fucking read. And nobody can do math. And you can point to the parents and you can point to, at some point, I think teachers got to take some of the blame. But I'd come down to it's who you vote for and who you're putting in, who's pulling the power, the power levers that are controlling who's educating your children, how they're being educated, and what's being pushed forward. And that's my soapbox moment for the night.
Monique's Beautiful Life Over 50 gave another googly eyes, and she said, that means I'm watching. So thank you for tuning in.
Copy.
J.W. Carroll tuned back in. He said, the school system's impact by the breakdown of the family. What does that mean?
Well, that family breakdown could come down to a integration, the Great Society movement of the 60s. When he did the, you know, dropping all the money in the black community to help us to shift the vote. I mean, I think the quote, you know, Johnson said was, you know, you can prove me wrong, if we do this, these niggas will vote for us for 200 years.
Wow.
And that shifted our development, and that also shifted the Republican and Democratic thing. And that's when the big switch happened. That's when, you know, the Democrats were down south, shifted to being Republicans, and it became up north. But there was some still holdovers from up north. There was still some Democratic things from the south that was holdover in the Democratic thing from up north. And you still, it's like they became, I think that's when it really merged as one party. I think that's what really happened off of that. Don't burn yourself up. And I think when the Great Society happened, they started dropping the money, and you started with the welfare and all that stuff. And I think the integration thing was, we'll take the good black teachers, take them up to the Poly and the Western and the city, and take the poor white teachers and send them down to the hood, and that's integration. Boom, we integrated. Ta-da! And you made it happen. And that's when it all. That's when the meltdown started. And then, 3 or 4 generations into the welfare piece, I mean, you go to Patrick Moynihan. Patrick Moynihan said that, you know, he was a senator from New York. He said, don't pass this. Right now, this is affecting brown people and black people. But in 30 or 40 years, it's going to be more white people in this situation than black people. And that's what's going on now. And they are... Now, you could say that might have been a strategic move on their part. It could be like, hey, you know, we're going to cut the, you know, like the wheat from the chaff. We're going to lose part of our people to destroy these people with this education thing. But, hey, what's going on now is not education. It's, I don't know what the fuck's going
on. Monique Beautiful tuned back in. She said, I can do no math. So if you can do no math, do you find in your adult life that you've had issues with problem solving? That's a question for Miss Monique.
Okay. The math thing is interesting. You should try to at least get your hand on algebra and geometry. You should be able to walk in the room and look at it and be like, this room is 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 or whatever.
Right.
You should sort of get the space and sort of understand. So when you go to buy stuff at the Home Depot and you try to build stuff, but I don't think it's that omnipresent. I went to school with my granddaughter on Grandparents' Day and I went to a math class, and I could do the math just off of the old school way.
Sure.
But the way they wanted me to do it, I had no idea how to fucking get that answer. That shit was crazy. And I'm like, they were pulling out little toys to put on the table. Like, this is how you come up with this equation. They pulled out 10 little people.
What grade is she at?
Back when I went up there to do that she was probably in the third or something like that.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this? But check it out. She had gotten the answer right doing math the regular way. But the teacher's like, you're not doing it the right way. You got to do it this way. And then she was, getting it wrong. So I don't know what the fuck is going
on. Monique said yes to the question of having issues being solving problems. And J.W. Curl said math is also about complex thinking they're dumbing everybody down.
Or dumping.
However.
So, I mean, I don't know, like to change the school system or to move forward or to do something, I think you need to, it's going to be a radical fucking shift.
Yeah.
And right now, a lot of people are saying, oh my God, it's the COVID. COVID has shown so many. Okay, I get it, the COVID thing. But also the schools were empty for a year. You literally had nobody in school for a year. So there should be no excuse why there's lack of heat or lack of AC in any of these buildings.
Yeah, especially during the pandemic.
Because, you had essential workers and they were doing construction the whole time. So don't tell me the bullshit like, it was in the queue and we had to do this. You can only do school construction. Either you're building a new school and there's no students there and you can do that anytime, or you're doing school construction that's during the summertime when nobody is there. But you had a year off when nobody was there. You also had a year to rejigger the whole equation and change up everything if you had the sack to do it. But again, the politics, the money comes into play. You're beholden to the teachers union. It dropped a bunch of money on your campaign, and you don't want to change, and you don't want to do anything. And it's a big shit sandwich, and somebody's got to take a bite. Like say Kurt Schmoke was mayor for 12 years. Suppose coming in his first year, he said all first graders are going to be able to do this. They're going to be able to hit this level. And he made sure the first graders could do that. And he passed that forward and pushed that equation forward to the second grade. At the end of his 12 years, he would probably have a better education system. So you might not be able to attack the whole. You might actually literally have to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, this is not going to happen, or this situation is, we're creating a new situation from here on out, and these people, you might lose some people. And again, it comes to, I feel like most people are like socialists, and they come into the thing where it's like, hey, the mass overwhelms the need of the minor, the one. The many override the need of the few. And you can't take a ride to save one or two students and let 30 or 40 students go down the drain because one student's being disruptive or whatever. I think the whole system is flawed, and we need to rethink and rejigger the system.
J.W. Curl asked, question for Chris.
Uh-oh.
Do you think the government wants an intelligent population of citizens?
No.
Why?
They want a functional population of citizens, but they don't want us to really question or push back. They really don't even want us to vote. They just want automatons at this particular point. They want us to keep going and just like we're following a Germanic educational system.
Did you say
Germanic?
Germanic. Gotcha.
Like it's based off the German kindergarten, German for children, and the whole thing is they are building citizens to plug in to their national interests where they need them. They could care less if you want to be a scientist. If you test for it, then cool, we'll facilitate that. But we could give two shits about what you want is what the whole wants, and that's what they're building. That's what that's what our school system is. And if you don't like that, you don't want to be part of that, I suggest homeschooling or try dropping into some private school. But nobody can fucking afford that, and that's why I said we got to rejigger that shit too. But no, they do not want us to be intelligent population.
Because an intelligent population means citizens question things more. You can't pull things over their eyes, can't feed them the pork because they critically think.
Exactly. There's no more critical thinking. There's just it's what they tell you to. It's the machine. Obviously, the machine is purposely being destroyed right in front of our eyes. I mean, you see it. You can feel it when you walk out of your house. You can feel the whole degradation of society from where it was, and you can't blame COVID on that. It was happening before COVID. And people say, oh, the education system is failing because of COVID. People couldn't read before COVID.
See, but the thing is, COVID didn't advance us. COVID put us in boxes more.
It put us in boxes. What it did is COVID is I guess the line in the sand from yesteryear and to the new order.
And what did you say about without disclosing our status? The statement that you said about being vaxxed, you were like, since the boosters and the other shots are coming out, it's levels of unvaccinated now. So you were like, somebody who isn't vaccinated at all is like level 3. Somebody who is vaxxed but didn't get the booster or the new ones are like unvaxxed too. So just more and more boxes that they're putting us in.
Yeah. It's just like they're gonna have you constantly jumping in, and you're constantly gonna have to prove your loyalty to the state by how quickly you jump through the hoop. If there's and they're gonna roll out another booster, and another booster, and another booster. And what I feel is going on secretly is these boosters are destroying our immunity. And I am not a doctor. Do not take my advice. This is just my personal opinion on this situation. I am not a doctor. Please, on all this information regarding what is going on health-wise, please contact your personal physician and ask for personal information. This is my personal opinion. This is Christian Allen's personal opinion. But I feel like, once you start taking the shots, you're going to be in it. And it's we are headed to something that we don't I don't even think they know what they've opened up. I think like I say, some of it is set in stone, some of it is could be prophecy. Could be some weird shit going on. But I think that, whatever plans they got, just like, a military thing. All military plans are great until the first shot is fired, and then all that shit goes out the window. And I think they got a plan, and I think it's a plan, counterplan, point, counterpoint. And I think it's, I personally feel the narrative is falling apart, and they're trying to hold it together. And, people are starting to see that the emperor has no clothes. And as much as you don't want people to wake up, they themselves are waking up people.
Monique's Beautiful Life Over 50 said, brilliant. It's a home run, Chris.
Oh, okay. Hallelujah.
J.W. Carroll has another question. He said, in the case of Baltimore City, how does the government compensate for citizens that don't value education?
What do you mean compensate as far as look after them or take care of them? I guess age-wise, it could be, I don't know, what is it, like manpower, or what is the school with the work thing? I forgot what it's called, where you learn how to lay bricks and stuff.
Oh, like the trade schools?
Yeah,
Hmm.
trade schools or whatever. But I'm not a socialist, but I will say you cannot take a singular approach to education, meaning the one student is more important. If it's public education and you're getting public dollars and you're pushing this out, it's got to be almost a shotgun effect, and we got to catch as many people as you can and push as many people through as you can as far as educating them at a base level. You can't get sidetracked and derailed with this thousands upon thousands of dollars on people that I hate to say it, and I'm gonna be an asshole and be a dick, that might be lost causes, and that's why I say it's gonna be a painful shift and change in the environment where the austerity has got to come in, and you gotta, to save our people, black people, we gotta wake up and take some control.
I mean, but look at the status of the city now. My age group, the young millennials and the old Gen Zs now, we are paying right now, just with the violence in the city, the pure ignorance of the citizens of Baltimore City, from the black and brown community, and from all communities. It is the lack of educational value that is causing I think that is causing the crime and pure degradation of the city.
True. It's not
So
having
we are
an
paying
educated
for it.
base. You can't employ these people because they have no education. So nobody's coming in with jobs to provide jobs to give people a way to uplift themselves. And you cycle them into, the police, prison machine, and it's a vicious cycle. What you have to do is you have to break the chain, and you got to start at the top. People have to show up at the polls, and you have to choose different people to run.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, look at the past 5 mayors. It's like it has been a little downhill race to it's like we're racing to the bottom. We are racing to oblivion.
J.W. Carroll said, I'm asking about educating young people when their families don't value education.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one. I mean, that's where you need the dedicated teachers like I was talking about. You need to appreciate those teachers, but you also need a baseline support system for those teachers, for those people that are really committed to educating people. Not somebody I got into teaching or I got into the school system because I had no other choice or nothing else to do, so I just jumped into that. You got to find people that truly want to do it. And I mean, if these people aren't valuing education, then maybe you need to start shutting off some valves of support.
Yeah.
And move that child into other types of support. Like I say, what's coming is going to be fucking brutal. I'm not shading nobody on. It's not going to be polite. It's going to be fucking brutal, and you're going to lose. If you not a generation, I guess you say a class or two, 2 or 3 years in the process to throw this shift in. You can't keep going with whatever the fuck is going on in Baltimore City. You can't keep going with that. It is ridiculous. It is, nobody's learning. You got people in North Avenue making astronomical amounts of money, and nobody is learning anything. It's at some point you got to hold some teachers accountable for the fact that nobody can read. I get it. There is a massive responsibility of the home situation, but the home has been destroyed by the greater political situation. It's a massive problem that you got to start somewhere, and it's going. Like I say, it's going to be painful.
So we actually reached the 40-minute mark.
Okay.
So let's give final thoughts. But really, really fast. Monique says it's been downhill since Schaefer.
Yeah, he was I feel like he was the last mayor that bled black and gold. He loved Baltimore. He lived Baltimore. He was dialed into Baltimore, and I feel like Baltimore. Well, no, I'll say that the last mayor that lived Baltimore was probably Du Burns, which was the interim mayor. He was the city council president right after Schaefer, and I personally feel like when Schaefer left to become governor, which he really didn't want to do, but the Democratic power structure sort of forced him to do it. When he stepped out, the mission was he was going to flow the money, the state money, into Baltimore because he knew Baltimore is the central hub of the state of Maryland. So that was his mission. But then you get the influences of the Schmoke thing came in, and when they ran Schmoke, Schaefer pulled back support from Baltimore City, and he dropped it in Western Maryland. That's where you get Highway 68, and Eastern Shore. That's where you get Highway 97, and he just pulled back because the Schmoke thing was not. It seemed super progressive, but was not in the long run. Did not help Baltimore. It did not. The whole, we're going to legalize drugs, that whole talk, I think that was the beginning of the end. And we went from having a couple of open-air drug markets to the whole fucking town being open-air drug market.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Okay. For everybody who is here, thank you so much for coming by. It's a lot of comments, a lot of interactions. I really appreciate that. Shout out to Monique's Beautiful Life Over 50. Shout out to J.W. Carroll, and shout out to B. More Roster. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you can know when Allen and Silas is coming back online. Thank you.
Copy that.
10 bad bitches in a mash. Wrist on Millie rock, them diamonds on me dancing. When you working hard, then your money start expanding. I got model bitches wanna lick me like some candy, and them drugs come in handy. Last name Savage, bitch, but no, I'm not Randy. Hit her with no condom, had to make her eat a Plan B. And I'm sipping on that codeine, not brandy.